What if one of the largest structures ever discovered in existence wasn't a galaxy, wasn't a black hole, wasn't dark matter, but emptiness? Not ordinary emptiness, not the empty space between stars. Something vastly larger, a region so enormous that it stretches across hundreds of millions of light years, a place where entire galaxies appear strangely missing, a giant hole in reality itself. And according to some researchers, there is a possibility that humanity may already be inside it. At first, that sounds ridiculous. Space is already mostly empty. Even galaxies themselves are separated by enormous distances. So how could scientists discover a region emptier than emptiness? And more importantly, why would anyone think this could matter? Because if our region of the universe is unusual, if our location is somehow different than expected, then some of our biggest assumptions about reality may need to be questioned. And strangely enough, this isn't the first time cosmologists have had that uncomfortable thought. For centuries, humanity believed we occupied a special place. Earth sat at the center. The heavens revolved around us. Everything pointed toward humanity. Then science slowly dismantled that idea piece by piece. Earth wasn't the center of the solar system. The sun wasn't the center of the galaxy. Our galaxy wasn't unique. Eventually, humanity learned something deeply humbling. We are probably not special. Modern cosmology became so successful using this assumption that scientists formalized it into the Copernican principle. The idea sounds simple. Our location in the universe should not be special. No privileged position, no preferred location, no cosmic center. On sufficiently large scales, the universe should appear statistically ordinary. And for decades, this assumption worked extremely well. But then, researchers began mapping the largest structures in existence, and reality started looking much stranger than expected. When most people imagine the universe, they picture chaos. Galaxies randomly scattered through empty space, stars floating aimlessly through darkness. But that isn't what astronomers discovered. On unimaginably large scales, the universe resembles something else entirely. A web. An enormous cosmic web stretching across reality itself. Galaxies gather into clusters. Clusters gather into superclusters. Massive filaments stretch across hundreds of millions of light years. Enormous rivers of galaxies connect together into structures so vast that human brains struggle to comprehend them. If you could zoom outward far enough, the observable universe would not resemble random chaos. It would look almost alive, like neurons inside a giant brain, like strands of spider silk stretching across unimaginable darkness. But hidden between these filaments, something else exists. Voids, massive regions containing surprisingly few galaxies, places where matter appears strangely absent, and cosmic voids aren't unusual. Scientists expected them. Gravity naturally pulls matter together. As galaxies cluster into dense regions, other areas become increasingly empty. Voids are part of how the universe organizes itself. But then researchers discovered something that seemed absurd. Some voids appeared far larger than expected, far emptier than expected. And among these enormous structures, one possibility began attracting attention. An idea suggesting our region of space itself may sit inside a gigantic underdense region, a giant cosmic void, sometimes called the KBC Void. The scale is almost impossible to imagine. Hundreds of millions, possibly over 1 billion light years across. To understand that size, remember that light itself moves at nearly 6 trillion miles every year, and even at that impossible speed, crossing a structure this large would require hundreds of millions of years. Human civilization has existed for only a tiny fraction of that time. Dinosaurs disappeared 66 million years ago. This structure could dwarf entire chapters of cosmic history. And according to some studies, our galaxy may sit somewhere near its center. Immediately, researchers began asking an uncomfortable question. If we live inside an enormous underdense region, could our observations of the universe be biased? Because most measurements of reality come from one unavoidable perspective: ours. Everything humanity knows about the universe comes from Earth. Every telescope, every observation, every measurement, everything starts here. If our local region differs from average, That matters, potentially a lot. Because one of the strangest mysteries in cosmology involves the expansion of the universe itself. For decades, scientists have measured how quickly reality expands. And strangely, different methods keep producing slightly different answers. This disagreement became known as the Hubble tension. Measurements based on nearby observations produce one value. Measurements based on the early universe produce another. Neither side completely agrees. And while the disagreement appears small discrepancies have changed science before. Tiny differences once transformed our understanding of gravity. Small anomalies eventually helped reveal relativity. Little cracks sometimes become revolutions. Some researchers wondered whether a giant local void could partially explain these conflicting measurements. If our region contains less matter, gravity here may behave differently on enormous scales. Galaxies around us could move differently. Expansion measurements could shift. Observations might become subtly distorted, not because physics was wrong, but because our perspective was unusual. Suddenly, cosmologists found themselves confronting an uncomfortable possibility. What if we accidentally violated the Copernican principle? Not completely, not dramatically, but enough to matter, enough that humanity once again found itself asking a familiar question. Are we in a special place? Now, to be clear, this idea remains heavily debated. Many scientists argue the evidence isn't strong enough. Others suggest the proposed void isn't large enough to explain observed tensions. Some researchers believe better data may eventually eliminate the problem entirely. Others think entirely new physics could emerge. Dark energy, modified gravity, unknown interactions. No one knows. And perhaps that uncertainty is what makes this fascinating. Because science rarely moves forward through certainty. Most breakthroughs begin with discomfort, with observations refusing to behave, with tiny pieces of reality quietly whispering that something doesn't fit. The KBC Void may eventually disappear. Future observations may reveal errors. Better galaxy surveys may settle the debate. Science has seen strange mysteries vanish before. But history also tells another story. Sometimes anomalies survive. Sometimes reality refuses to cooperate. Sometimes the universe keeps pushing back. And if humanity truly lives inside an enormous cosmic void, then our understanding of the universe may carry an invisible bias. Because imagine trying to understand an entire planet while trapped inside a cave. You might still learn incredible things. You might build beautiful theories. You might describe mountains and oceans and weather. But every conclusion would begin from a limited perspective. And perhaps humanity faces a similar problem. Because everything we know, every equation, every observation, every map of reality begins from one small location orbiting one ordinary star inside one galaxy. A galaxy that itself may exist inside something vast and strange. For centuries, humanity kept learning the same lesson. You are not the center. You are not special. You are ordinary. But what if reality still has surprises left? Because somewhere beyond our telescopes, beyond the galaxies, beyond the structures we have barely begun mapping, there may exist an emptiness so enormous that it quietly shapes everything we think we know. And if we truly live inside one of the largest voids ever discovered, then humanity's understanding of reality may not be wrong, just incomplete. Because sometimes the biggest things in existence are the things missing from view.